so we can start. Thank you guys from the Fringe project to come up with us and present your baby, I'd say.
Yeah.
And
Thank
usually,
you so much for the opportunity.
thank you. Oh, you're welcome. And yeah, usually what we do is like a short introduction about like each of you present here on the stage, like the team, and then we can just jump into the project. The thread is there, like if people have like can react directly with what you say. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we're from the Fringe. My name is Zeke. Chris and I up here on the stage are film directors. We've been working together for about 10 years. And Sick Tracy is a film producer that we've worked with for also a really long time. And we're most known for a film we did a few years ago called Prospect. I'll go ahead and drop the movie poster in the thread. Some of you may or may not recognize it. Um, and we made this movie Prospect a few years ago. But to get it made, we had to sell all the IP. We don't own Prospect, and this is like a major thing in Hollywood that is unlike any other industry. It's completely outdated.
Mm-hmm.
That to get a movie made, you essentially have to give your baby away. So we want to make a new movie, and we want to get essentially you guys involved. We want to do it in a natively Web3 way. And kind of our main ambition is we want to create the first major sci-fi franchise that's independent of Hollywood and instead controlled by its creators and fans. So we're launching a new cinematic universe, and that's what the Fringe is. The Fringe is the outskirts of the known galaxy. It's the wild west of outer space. It's a deep, like vast world. Like think like Star Wars, think Mad Max. It's like
Yep.
gritty and grounded. It's really a continuation of the space western vibe that we established in Prospect. And we're going to launch this universe by selling NFTs. Our NFTs are called drifters. They're characters in the Fringe universe. They're also concept art for the actual movie. Um, Anyone who buys a drifter, you're actually going to have a chance, numerous chances to get your drifter in the film. Our art is incredibly detailed and it's filled with story because we're imagining any of these characters like actually becoming part of the film. And we want to use NFTs as a new storytelling medium. It's like almost think about NFTs as the first chapter in the narrative. And it's going to be a collaborative world building process. Like the most hardcore members will be invited to throw out ideas. We're going to have these world building labs. For example, we'll have a spaceship lab where we'll bring in, the CGI artists, the concept artists, but then members of the community can throw out references, ideas. We'll cook something up together. Then the whole community will vote on the best direction. And then that design that's put into place will actually then be entered into fleshing out our NFT ecosystem, and holders will have exclusive access to those NFTs. I can talk for hours about all the different utility we're exploring, but overall, it's going to be a collaborative world building process. By holding a drifter, you're going to earn drift tickets.
Okay.
And this is what we're going to use to vote on both creative decisions while we're running up to the making of the film, but also the overall direction of the franchise. I mean, we want to essentially expand this universe, this franchise into all sorts of mediums, graphic novels, tabletop gaming, eventually, video games, metaverse. And our community is going to be at the steering wheel of that effort and guiding it. And this all goes back to keeping the intellectual property independent, keeping it with the collective. And as I mentioned before, this is really personal for us. It's like we had to give away our baby. We had to give away Prospect. And Prospect was a unique film in that it has a really deep, dense sci-fi world, and it took years and years to develop. We rewrote this script numerous times. We fleshed out all of the things that aren't in the script, all these details, and we just gave it away for a low writing fee. Kind of what's funny about this is the reason why this all happened is because of George Lucas. It's because of Star Wars.
Hmm.
He was mad about having to give away the IP for the movies. So he said, "Hey, okay, I'll give you that, but let me keep the toy rights." And so George Lucas made then, like, billions of dollars selling Star Wars toys. And since then, Hollywood doesn't let creators keep anything. It immediately pulls it all away just for the opportunity to make your film. And so, guys, if we pull this off, it will truly be revolutionary. The industry will be watching, because you're going to start seeing all sorts of filmmakers jump into this mode to get out of Hollywood, to totally get out of that lopsided balance of power, of centralized power into DeFi. Scott, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the vision that Zeke laid out is exactly our vision. I think what excites me the most is the depth of our team and the ability of the team. You know, we're all fully doxxed, by the way. Despite my dopey Discord name, my name is Scott Glassgold. I'm a producer in Los Angeles. I produce Prospect. I have movies at Netflix and Sony and all over the place. But the point that I'm trying to make is, Zeke and Chris are fantastic filmmakers in demand. We made Prospect, and then off of Prospect, they were, doing a show at Amazon, and we had all these opportunities. But at the end of the day, we realized we were just sort of hopping right back on that mouse wheel, if you will, where we were, doing all this innovation, all this iteration of concept, only to give it away. And as Web3 started to present itself more and more as a reality, it became the pathway for us to create in a way that was autonomous, that could connect to our community, and really was the ultimate way to empower the artist. So it's a combination of us knowing precisely what our utility is, but also squarely having years of experience to pull it off. And then the only other component I'll say to that is, what is equally exciting is how naturally NFTs lends itself to what we're trying to do. If there was nothing, called Web3 or NFT, we'd all be with our artists right now creating concept art for our next film. So it organically dovetails precisely what we would be doing anyway. But now we have the opportunity to share it, to use it as a stepping stone to building the cinematic universe. We have Lori Greasley, who literally did the concept art on Prospect, is now doing our NFTs. So to me, it's truly this convergence of art and technology, and ultimately, the pathway to really doing something special cinematically that's never been done before.
And I would just add to that on a creative level, just like echoing what Scott was saying, just how organic the process of just this idea of fusing NFTs and film together was for us. There's a lot of things going on in film 3 right now, but I think for us specifically, as filmmakers who are really committed to science fiction and to world forward science fiction in particular, this just makes so much sense for us. One of the things we discovered with building Prospect was the power of collaborative world building. There tends to be kind of like a default sort of auteur assumption about like a director at the top mandating everything creatively across like every level of the film. But we wanted this film to feel like we were just taking, we had a window into a world that felt alive and real, and that it extended beyond the edges of the film. And to achieve that, you need to pack it with just so much density and detail, and you want diversity. You don't want things to feel monolithic. And to pull it off with Prospect, we opened up our own production design shop where we brought together a whole collective of artists, many of whom had never worked on a film before, and we jammed it out and built the world together. And what's so exciting about the Fringe is that already, even in our Discord community, as we're starting to like jam on sci-fi ideas together, that collaborative nature, that breadth of diversity in building all of the artifacture and details of a sci-fi universe, it just gives it so much more fidelity. So coming back, coming from a background in writing and filmmaking, one of the things that excites me most about NFTs is the idea, like Zeke said previously, of thinking of art NFTs as a new narrative medium. And outside of all the utility on a creative level, what we're trying to do with this collection is an act of non-linear narrative world building. We're laying the foundation for a film and all sorts of other narrative media to emerge from. And I think that in terms of value and just even general artistic merit, our NFTs are uniquely going to be infused with this story. They're going to be directly tied to a cinematic universe that will hopefully grow and extend its global reach and cultural impact over time. And each drifter, each NFT character has a place in this sci-fi universe and an opportunity to be rendered as a character in any number of stories. So on a creative level, that's what's so exciting to me about this fusion of narrative, NFTs, and film.
So I want to get to like questions and stuff super fast. I don't want to just hog the stage, but I do want to just talk about, kind of the practical parts of our NFT collection real quick, just kind of pivoting off what Chris said. Again, a couple of the benefits, because some of the utility of Oldie and Drifter is you'll get numerous chances to try to get your Drifter as a character in the movie. And in addition, we will be releasing main character drifters, and you'll have the opportunity to win those, which will be ultra rare NFTs. The primary collection right now, we're toying around with a roughly 10,000 kind of like typical collection. Obviously, lots of people are doing unconventional collection sizes right now, and we're still looking at it, but we're toying around with 10,000. And when you go to mint your drifter, you're going to have one of three choices. Will be this kind of web page where it says choose your planet, and we have 3 locations in the Fringe that have 3 different sets of drifters, and each one of these is almost like its own NFT project. There'll be exclusive elements, exclusive color palettes. So, like for example, one of the locations is Early Prime, and I'm just going to drop in some of the Early Prime drifters, and each decision has also different rarity traits. Okay. So, the majority of drifters are, there'll be a few thousand from, this kind of mining colony aesthetic. These are the ones I'm loading right now. But in addition, you'll have like an 80% chance of drawing one of those, but then you'll have like, a 19% chance of drawing a more rare drifter from the Toxic Veil. And I'll drop, they're loading kind of slowly, but I'll drop one of those. They went out of order. So the one I just put in is from the Veil. And similarly, the other choices, there's drifters that are in outer space. There's drifters that are on a frontier planet called Scarum. And, and each one has a different set of odds on how rare of a drifter you're going to draw. And it'll be kind of, 80% chance, like a more common drifter, 20% chance, a medium rare drifter, and then like a very small chance, 1%, 0.5%, that you'll get one of our custom ultra rare drifters as part of that. But yeah, I feel like we've been talking so much. I'm going to keep dropping in some examples of the art, but I'd love to open it up for questions.
We already have like one from AI Peters asking what would be the difference between Fringe and Prospect? Like, what is the plot because of the DMCA?
Yeah, so it's legally will have no tie to Prospect, like, and that essentially comes down to like the characters in that film, the name of the film, some of the imagery on screen will not be copied over. So we have had to reinvent a lot of things. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit more about the story of the Fringe?
Yeah, sure. Like fundamentally, it's very much kind of comes from the same aesthetic source as Prospect, but fundamentally this is a reaction to our inability to continue to build upon Prospect, as Zeke was describing earlier, because of the fact that we don't own the IP. And so, that's kind of what undergirds a huge part of this project for us, is wanting to keep ownership of the IP in the control of the creators and the people who care most about the universe. As far as the movie goes, the Fringe movie, the first Fringe movie, ultimately we're keeping a lot of the plot and character details under wraps. We want to tease them and slowly reveal them in a very calculated way after mint.
Okay.
But really quickly, just like kind of an elevator sort of pitch of the film. It's set in this Wild West sci-fi sandbox. The Fringe is just the edges of civilization. It's lawless, and there's just all sorts of chaos flying around in there. And the film itself will start as something of a fugitive story, but by the end it'll spiral into this full-on frontier showdown in a very classic Western sense. Our protagonist will be a new migrant to the Fringe who secured a contract job on a remote mining colony. But after they get framed for an assassination attempt on the mining corporation's feudal boss, they're going to be thrust out into the larger world of the Fringe with a posse of corporate bounty hunters on their tail. As they travel through space, along the way they'll be forced into a tense partnership with some drifter outlaws, and as they all get sucked into the vortex of the Fringe's underbelly across multiple planets and outposts, a lucrative new opportunity will emerge involving a savage family of disgraced oligarchs who are desperate to reclaim their former prestige. And the whole encounter will test the mettle of this new kind of cobbled together crew of misfits against a violent and dangerous common enemy as they scraped to make it out of the whole situation, both alive and rich. But yeah, speaking just a little more broadly to the world at large, it's similar to our previous film Prospect. The Fringe has very strong sci-fi Western flavor to it. I would say the tone of it could be described as Star Wars meets Deadwood, in that we envision a very Star Wars level world in terms of scale and lore and detail, but kind of the distinctive flavor that we're bringing to the table is much more fully embracing the Western tradition in the stories. Stories of moral grayness, blue collar heroes, and just the whole wild spectrum of human experience out on the frontier of civilization.
And the one thing I want to add to that is just imagine the framework of all this is outside the confines of the studio system. You're talking to someone who's been on shitty calls all day long, getting really bad notes from studio executives to very creative people. We're able to create this film entirely outside of that system, where filmmakers and creators have no one to answer to but themselves and the community. Yep. So in that way, it's like it's 1977 and you had a chance to buy Star Wars NFTs before Star Wars was Star Wars, would you? And like, to me, it's an emphatic yes. And these guys have this, what we're looking to do is create a runway for creators to not have to, workshop things that we think will, play to a certain audience or otherwise, and just free to create. To me, that's one of the most exciting things.
Well, and that also speaks to just the general difficulty of launching original IP in the Hollywood system, which is a system that's infatuated with pre-existing IP because it's safer, and that's why we see all these remakes and everything is about mitigating risk by racing to the middle. When it comes to the kind of stories they're willing to produce. But we've always been most passionate about building new, entirely original worlds. And this is where that path has taken us.
Yeah, and the fact, like you mentioning, would you buy a Star Wars NFT before Star? I think everyone would say yes.
Right?
Right.
See Peter asking also, what is the workflow for editors? I feel like that the review of Prospect was lackluster. See, the main character has a lot of empty space as character. How are these character development holes going to be addressed?
Well, first I have to say the reviews of Prospect were not lackluster. We have an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. We're an incredibly well-reviewed film. We won a big award at South by Southwest. And of course, we have a specific point of view. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. That said, I also say is like Prospect was our first feature film. It is not a perfect film, but we also learned a ton by doing it and are so excited to, amp up and apply, everything we've learned in that film. And also like all the ways, innovative things we learned making Prospect to put on steroids. For example, like Prospect had a budget of, $3.6 million, and we managed to make a really in-depth world for that budget by opening our own production design shop. And we're absolutely going to do that again with the Fringe. And the Fringe will have like a one step, bigger budget. It'll be a bigger movie. It'll be a more exciting movie. Prospect, and it's, kind of as a low budget movie, has fewer characters and it's a little more sparse. And that's going to get amped up, but it's still going to kind of keep, the same DNA.
Okay, thank you for the answer, but Peter was more mentioning like the editor reviewing the story, not like movie review, and it's just considering that the characters are being chased by the original enemies the entire time, but is there a resolution?
I'm not sure I entirely understand the question. Chris, is there anything you want to say about that, Chris?
I mean, absolutely, there will be a resolution, and this is something that we don't want to spoil sort of everything. It's not going to be necessarily like the script isn't going to be workshopped by the community. We want to hold that close to preserve sort of the experience of watching the film. But I mean, fundamentally, that's what we're not going to have the same sort of like studio oversight in terms of like creative review and that kind of thing, but. I think the team that we have for ourselves is intended to function as its own studio, and it is going to be internally collaborative effort to audit the script and tighten it up. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of taste involved and stylistic choices, and so that ultimately is something that we want to preserve by going fully independent.
Oh, I think I get yes, I get the question now. Accountability, that makes totally more sense. Absolutely. I think it would be foolish to make a movie without getting feedback in the process. And like, for example, something we did, with Prospect is we held numerous test screenings. I like 4 or 5. In the process, and I want to do even more of that. I'm as an artist, I'm not someone who's afraid of feedback. We want to get as many opinions, in the final thing, and I think that's hopefully what Web3 can help empower. It's like, again, we don't want to leak the movie, we don't want to spoil everything, but we want to figure out ways to get feedback from the community about the film, and I think that's going to be better feedback than feedback coming from executives. I mean, like. This is,
in
obviously
this space, everyone's just like they're shooting straight for what they're thinking. They're not taking like glove to tell you.
Exactly, yeah, and I think honestly, like I think Star Wars, in their more since George Lucas left and Disney took over, those films, they're not great, and they're often very much formed by these weird executive committees, and fans are very alienated in the process. And I think what we're hoping is to get the fans more directly inside the process.
Asking again is like, will you bring on a studio if there is enough interest from the community?
For this first film, no. There's absolutely no need to bring on a studio. There might be a need to bring on. Well, I mean, the main thing is getting talent. We need to have A-list talent for this project. Scott, who I think his connection went bad. He just dropped. But I can't go into too much details, but for example, Scott is in a contract negotiation right now with Ryan Reynolds. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but like, we have access. Yeah, not for this project, I should say. It's another movie he's went on. We're not going to actors yet, though casting announcements will be a big part. We're connected via agencies and other production companies to everything we need in Hollywood. Going to a studio means surrendering the IP. That's what that means, and we won't do that.
This is not the environment, don't worry.
Good. Glad to hear it. Just, and if I'm happy to keep answering whatever questions. I mean, we're essentially hoping to make, the creation of a film like, almost like a festival. Like, it's just going to be like, constant events around the things that are happening. Obvious, in the Discord server, there's going to be, a lot of access to the artists involved. constant transmissions, video of like how everything is coming together. It's like we want to make this film in an incredibly transparent way, out in the open, in front of everybody. And of course, like, there's going to be all sorts of things to take part on, both virtual and physical events. We hope to get everybody like to movie premieres, parties, show off our production shop, give access to the cast. One holder will be lucky enough to actually be in the movie as an extra that gets gruesomely killed on screen by a lead character. So that's going to be a perk of potentially owning a Drifter NFT. And then again, it's going to be kind of organized around these various labs, like around, the weapons in the system, around the spaceships, but also about stuff that's just like around expanding what we can do with the franchise. Like, I think one of the things we can actually do before the film is ever released is develop a tabletop game, because given the story we already have, given the art we've already developed, it's not going to take much more. And with the help of our community, we can go and easily turn this into a tabletop game. And then once we actually have the film and it's sort of the flagship of this franchise, then we're interested in like, and letting, the community decide, but like, do we pursue a video game partnership? Again, I think we're really going to have the depth of the world to like really pull off a cool game if that's what the community wants to do. Do we pursue a sequel? Do we pursue a series? These are the type of things that we want to put, the community, in control over.
All right, sweet. And in terms of like releasing the movie, any dates in mind?
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I think that we can offer compared to other NFT projects is that we are the filmmaking team. We are the production company. After Mint, like that's more or less, we're greenlit. We're hitting the ground running and ready to go. And so, it's like, I can't like commit to a release date like right now.
But like
but it's
a period of time, maybe like...
Yeah, I'm hoping it's 2023. Like I'm hoping it's next year, if everything goes well. And what's the hardest thing in filmmaking is financing and cast. And if the financing is put into place, and we also have what's actually really exciting is there's another problem in Hollywood, which is that it's incredibly hard to market original ideas. That's why you see so many sequels. So many like, studios that are adapting board games like serials into movies because like people just know the name. And what we're hoping is if we build like an awesome Web3 community around the project before the movie even comes out, like the fan base is already started, the foundation's already there. And that's going to make it even like easy to like, and not only will we have the financing, but we can pursue cast already having a fan base, and it'll accelerate things even faster.
And sorry, I went to answer the question before and I hit exit instead of off of mute. So I apologize. But I think it's a really important question that I want to put a circle around in terms of studios and otherwise. At the end of the day, our North Star is retaining ownership of the project, of the IP, of the film, and everything around it. Now, when I say retaining ownership, whatever comes in the future by way of sharing it with community, everything is on the table. But what I specifically mean is not handing it over to a conglomeration. So that is what will inform all of our decisions. Now, look, we want to make a film that's seen by millions of people. So if we're independently financing a film, there's still ways to distribute it, whether it's in 4,000 theaters here in the States and around the world, even on Netflix, or otherwise, and still wholly retain ownership of the movie. So that'll inform everything that we do. And then the other component is, look, we have access to anybody in this town. And what I mean by that is, look, we made our first film for very little money with Pedro Pascal and Sophie Thatcher, two actors who were well on their way right now. So with our second film under our belt and, access to this town, I'm in Los Angeles, we really feel like we're in a position to sort of have the best of both worlds, whether it comes down to casting or otherwise. What I do think is interesting is, look, I am supportive of all NFT projects and all of them that are growing and flourishing. What you tend to see is a trend of successful NFT projects running with their success and signing with like a Hollywood agency and sort of taking a bow like that's a success. Where at the end of the day, that's pretty much what we're running away from, because it's a broken system. So to us, we're looking to create a new system, not go back to the old, but at the same time, wherever it serves us, provided it upholds our principles of creator ownership, we feel like we can play in both spaces.
Scott, there's a question in the chat that I think a good one that you could touch on, from Ali Peter. Looking at sales, you make a movie, the budget is burned through. Now what? Where do you want it released?
The budget. So okay, I let me. If I don't answer it appropriately the first time, please let me know if I'm missing the question. The luxury of making a film is that there's all along the way, we have the opportunity to figure out what our distribution is. Whether that's, we could do pre-sales around the world if we wanted to pay for the movie outright without even touching any of our raise from NFT, or we could make the movie funded squarely by our NFTs, and then take it to market and sell it to a when I say sell it, again, to be clear, it's distribution rights, nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, what we believe we are doing is creating a property that will continue to earn revenue, right? So if we make a film, that film in of itself becomes a commodity that can yield money. But at the same time, if you're making a film with that high of a profile, then all your other ancillary options become that much more viable. All the things that Zeke and Chris already mentioned, whether it's video games, tabletop games, figurines, across the board, we are ostensibly nurturing and growing our own IP that then can be spun off in any direction we see fit, provided it honors the spirit of the material. So if anything, the film in of itself is a great artistic expression, and then further becomes a calling card for any other expansion of the material.
I think that answered the question. Thank you for that. A lot of people are also asking, where can they watch Prospect?
Yeah, so if you're in the United States, it's on Hulu right now. It's hard internationally because distribution rights are different in every country. Some places it's on Netflix, some places it's on Amazon. Usually, if you Google your country and Prospect, you will find it somewhere. It has been distributed in, I think, pretty much every major market.
And you can rent it anywhere beyond the free streaming, whether, again, specific to your country, whether it's on Apple TV or Amazon Prime here in the States. For $2 or $3, you're able to rent the film as well. And to be clear, when you rent the film, we don't make any money because of our shitty deal. And that's the whole reason why we want to do Web3. So yeah. I'm not promoting it to make a penny. We will not see any of it.
That's super sensitive, because I didn't know about all those deals with Hollywood and
It's crazy. If you think about how Silicon Valley, how tech works,
mm-hmm.
If you have an idea, you become a part owner of your idea, and that is almost how everything else in the world works. But Hollywood is just this entrenched old school system that is honestly just ripe to be turned over by Web3 technology. This is going to be the beginning of a big trend, in my opinion.
Yeah, giving the right to the owner, the producer, to own what they're making,
And the goal is we can't NFTs legally in the United States. We're a docs team. We're doing this through legal entities in the U.S. We've hired a law firm to advise us. We can't give royalties and stuff from the film through NFTs. But the goal is to set up a long-term structure where we do embrace collective ownership, where this is a true co-op IP, that the community, actually has ownership of the property. And that's the long-term vision of it. And that's how we'll keep it, independent from Hollywood, for years to come.
That is true. Maybe can you do a summarize of when the mint is gonna happen and the price, how many pieces?
Yeah, sure. So we are gunning for kind of end of May. So roughly about a month from now,
Okay.
or a little less. The collection hasn't been. We're gonna firm up the number, I think, in the next week or so. But right now, we're considering about a 10,000 collection. I think part of us, again, what we're going for is to establish a fan base. We really want to try to get a lot of people involved and excited because that's what's going to give this long-term value. When this film goes big, that value is going to reflect back on the NFTs, back on these core fans. As far as the price, we need to raise about 5-6 million bucks to keep the IP independent. And so, being a month out, I can't speculate on the ETH price specifically. ETH changes every day, but we're looking to raise that few millions, so that we can keep the IP independent. And as Scott mentioned, we have additional tools to increase the budget of the movie further, but to stay in control of it.
All right. And so here there's 3 of us, but how many people are working in the team for this project?
Oh man, we have a big team. I mean, really, it's like I like divide up because we have an art collective called Taka that actually will physically make all the distinctive props and sets and everything you're going to see on screen. And so a lot of those people have come on board for this project. Like our production designer, Matt Acosta, our costume designer, Aiden, is part of it. I mean, what's really cool is that everyone is figuring out how they also fit into the Web3 side of it. So Aiden, for example, we discovered, is really good at coming up with puzzles and challenges, like for our Discord server. But overall, I mean, how many people do we got on the team, guys? It's like 30, 40. It's a big team. We have the art.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Zeke, sorry.
No, I say the art department itself is I think about 7 people are working on the art right now, and we should be finishing the art up in about a week.
And the interesting thing about the team, and I did drop off for a second, so forgive me if I'm repeating, but when you make a movie, you pull together a team of fantastic artisans, right? Everyone's got their own expertise across the board. Like literally our gun makers on the film were actual gun makers. People that worked on our spaceships in our movie used to work for Boeing. And of course, everyone in the film business who has their own specified craft. And you bring all these people together to sort of make some magic, right? And in traditional film, you come together, do something awesome, and then you completely disband. And it makes 0 sense. It's like figuring out how to put together this awesome.
Oh, you cut off.
We lost him.
Yep.
Lost him mid-sentence. Whoops.
If I got, and I got it. I'm here. A call came in. Sorry, guys. And you blow it up, right? So for this, what we want to do is keep this team together and do this one thing and then keep it going to do more and more fantastic things. Sorry about that incoming call.
No, the only thing I'd add to that is Chris and I, growing up. I mean, obviously, I think like a lot of people here, we were really into Star Wars as kids, but also we were big fans of Lord of the Rings. And one of the things that made me want to get into filmmaking was watching. There's 12 hours of behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings on the DVD box set, and I watched every minute of it, just enraptured. And because how Lord of the Rings was made is they set up outside of Hollywood their own kind of creative island where they made everything together, and it was a whole team that came together just for that singular purpose. And then I strongly believe that's how really good shit gets made, because even on Star Wars, Marvel, big budget stuff is you have stuff that rolls in these shops. They spend a couple weeks on it. They go on to the next thing. And it's kind of a day job mentality where the people that worked on Prospect and the people that are going to work on the Fringe, they're going to get to pour all their time, passion, and life into it long term and make something that's incredibly distinctive and I think incredibly potent for, particularly the budget level, when it comes to films. I think it's really going to stand out.
All right. Sogi, you were saying we're starting Prospect now while I'm gonna be on work TV. Nice.
Someone's asking what it gets on Soggy scale. I don't know what that is.
I don't even understand.
No,
I mean, soggy is like soggy wash biscuit, but that's what, yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I see. He's referring to somebody else. That's hilarious. Okay, well, I definitely want to drop our Twitter in the chat if people want to follow along, and then of course, um, you know what? I'm gonna put sort of an informal challenge out to everybody that if you want to watch Prospect, you want to go watch our movie, and then come over to our server and just say what you thought about the movie. There's actually a channel. We have a channel for the movie. Um, that is what's it called? It's called the Prospect Film channel. That if you want to just kind of say what you think about it, like I'll access list you. Because generally, if you're into our film, like those are the people who we want holding our NFTs, who we want coming along for this ride. So that's just kind of an informal invitation to people listening. If you want to get on our access list, like watch the film, come over to our server, see what you think about it. We also have we have this thing called Quipped Status, where Quipped Status gets you a discount on our NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you priority minting, so you get to choose which you get to choose your planet first and make sure you get the choice that you want before everyone else, and also access to exclusive channel, exclusive information. And you get Quip status by earning badges, and you get badges by doing these challenges. We do like 2 challenges a week. Some of them are like come up with memes, some of them are come up with like a cool historical reference that could be turned into a sci-fi story. Some are just like, help us retweet something. So like people are all the time kind of vying for Quip status, and it's really what kind of keeps our server humming. So yeah, definitely invite everyone to come check it out. And if you watch Prospect and you dig it, I'd love to give it to you on our whitelist.
So guys, what you have to do tonight, afternoon, day, depends on where you are. Watch Prospect and join their server. Say you're from the syndicate, and let's go. Access list. Thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Our project has a lot of layers to it, and I really appreciate the opportunity just to like actually tell our story and explain the whole thing.
I'm gonna do a last call for questions, and if you want to come on stage, ask them directly, because I know Peter had a lot of questions, or just post them in the channel. And if no last question, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, and we're if you don't have a question here, we're all of us are always hanging in the chat or otherwise. It's the community is very fun and excited to kick around ideas. So either here or in the Discord or otherwise, it's always great to connect.
Yep, always great also to have passionate people talking about the project inside our clan. Oh,
awesome! Thank you guys so much.
I have a question. Are you planning depending on your lore and the universe, to integrate any other NFT into the movie?
NFTs from other projects?
Yes.
Wait. Oh man, I don't know. That's no one's ever brought that up before. That'd be interesting. It would have to be the right fit.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, hey.
Because
if someone wants to pitch us something, come over to the server. That could be cool.
I could completely imagine, kind of our mask, but post-apocalyptic mask of our syndicate, onto a character.
Totally.
Interesting. That could be cool.
It would really have to pass like the vibe check for just like consistency in the world, but at the same time, I feel like the way that we envision this is just super dense, and the idea of Easter eggs, just sort of like in the fabric of the world in the film, could be really cool.
We do have, I guess maybe the one thing we've done that's kind of like that is there's a group inside of Neo Tokyo that's called the Flooded District, and they have their own lore in Neo Tokyo, and we're figuring out how to bridge their lore. They're kind of a rat. The rat is their kind of symbol and their motif, and so they're right now they're coming over to our server to kind of invent a legend that takes place inside the Fringe.
We have the Rat King in our server, guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a good friend of the
Interesting.
yeah, he's a good friend of the syndicate, the Red King.
Cool. Yeah, there could be some connections here.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think like I don't see any other question. I mean, we'll keep in touch, yeah, for any idea of an Easter egg of the mask or something that we can maybe integrate. And once again, thank you for coming in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us. This has been a blast.
This is amazing. Thank you.
We'll see you later. See you
See
over in the
you.
Fringe.
Yep. See you guys. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.